Perhaps you could add some insight into what we're seeing on the equity front. Losses coming through on a global level, the rand strengthening in tandem with what we're seeing with the likes of the euro and the dollar shedding some ground as well.
Yes, I think that the equity markets have run very hard over the last few months. I think the problems in Libya at the moment, the oil price going up into the $115 a barrel, causing a lot of inflation going forward, has put in a lot of worry on people's minds, and they're taking a lot of profit that they've made in the equity market off very aggressively over the last week or two. So profit taking coming in, and we'll have to see if once that profit taking comes in, if people are going to go short after that. But at the moment, I think people taking profit and taking and locking up some of the profit that they have made in the emerging markets.
Rob, it's interesting to note that we're pretty much in the middle of earnings season here in South Africa. We've seen a mixed bag, some good results, some not so great. But at the end of the day, the fundamental drivers not driving the JSE All-Share. How much more downside can we expect? Do you think if we don't see resolution in the Middle East, in that North African region, that we could see more downside for the market? Because an inflation scenario that is bigger than was initially expected at the beginning of the year could create a big concern to the global economic recovery.
Inflation is a problem. I think we'll have to take a look at growth as well. If we don't get growth, then inflation is, that inflation just won't materialize. We have to watch both of them very closely. I think, Eleni, that in the emerging markets, what you have to see is if interest rates do increase in Western economies, the carry trade will start to weaken. It won't be so easy to put the carry trade on. You have a big outflow of money from emerging markets back into the Western world. So I think interest rates is really what we have to look at going forward, and inflation. So if interest rates do move up in Western markets, I think that's where you have to see emerging markets will be under a lot of pressure.
Rob, that's interesting because the Bank of England perhaps is signalling that many of its members could be considering a rate hike towards the end of the year. That said, we had PPI numbers out in South Africa slowing to 5.5% year on year in January from 5.8% in December. I think one also needs to look at the month-on-month figure, because there we saw it increasing to 1.1% from 0.3% in December, and showing that inflationary impact that is feeding through.
Yes, I think this inflated oil price currently is going to push that PPI up. I think the next set of figures you'll see quite a jump up in the PPI number, as the amount of the amount of the fuel price is going to make such a difference to inflation. It's such a big component of that sector. So PPI is starting to move forward. I think in South Africa we've still got a lot of debt, personal debt, and I think that our interest rates will still remain at these levels for the rest of the year.
Let's touch on some results. Again, a flurry of results out today. Exxaro doubled its full-year headline earnings per share on the back of high commodity prices and the back of sales volumes. No surprise there, given that coal had been in vogue towards the end of last year, and more so even at the beginning of 2011.
Yes, very good numbers from Exxaro. I think that the floods also in Australia, with tight supply coming out of Australia, have helped them as well, pushing the coal prices around the world up. They've got a bit of constraints on our railway lines, but generally the production seemed to be on par as last year and slightly moving up. So very good set of numbers by Exxaro, and they see those numbers and that production lasting for the whole of 2011. So looking very positive for Exxaro, and a good set of numbers and a good dividend of R3.
Let's touch on Massmart, a company also out with results today, posting a 6% rise in first half profits. Like all other players in the retail space, this company experienced price deflation on many of its products, and averaging a price deflation scenario of above 2%. No surprise there, Rob, but I suppose most of the investor community is waiting to hear more word on the possible deal with Walmart.
Yes, I think the set of numbers were good, but not fantastic. I think if you take a look at ShopRite, they made 9 and 9.6%. Massmart only coming in at 6% increase in revenue. So not the best set of numbers by them, and the dividend was unchanged. So they didn't increase the dividend payment there. So really, people sitting and waiting on the Walmart deal. I think that you've got a lot of risk on the Massmart share price. Once that deal does go through, you don't know where it's going to reopen after 50% of the company has moved away from the exchange. So I'll be staying away from Massmart now, and rather wait till the deal is done and relook at it from there.
Shipping and logistics group Grindrod, full-year headline earnings per share dipping just under 12%. The stronger rand being a very big hindrance, and also the fact that we saw freight rates also coming under pressure on a global level. And when you look at the Baltic Dry Index, it hasn't had a good year so far. We're seeing a lot of excess capacity when it comes to ships on a global level.
Yes, I think the demand for commodities has been very good, but the amount of ships coming onto the water and the volume on the water has increased extensively, and they're expecting that to continue throughout the year. So shipping prices were going to come down quite a bit, and that's where they're getting most of their pressure from. They have moved away slightly from shipping into logistics and freight, and those divisions look like they're doing very well. Not a bad set of numbers, but obviously those shipping rates are putting pressure on Grindrod. They had a very good year last year. They're down 12% I think this year, but starting to show a little bit more value. We'll have to wait and see what happens in Libya and see if oil comes back online and the amount of trade going through into Asia continues. I think then they'll be set for a bit of a recovery. Grindrod.